need some help?
Yeah.
Alright, let's work on this. Alright, so this is the Incantations piece. Starting here at quarter note equals 88 beats per measure. And I'm going to start with the solo. I'm going to do 2 measures of rest and then just start playing. And then I'll go back and talk about all the sections that might give you some trouble. Alright, let's do it. Alright, so I think that there's a little bit of hard spots at this transition right here. You start having full slurs, and before any of that happens, it's kind of mostly rest unless you're a soloist. So once you get here, you got to be really careful that you hit that F sharp right on the head. Just make sure it rings out clear, that it's a mezzo forte. Let's shut this off. That's a mezzo forte, and that everybody can really hear it, because that's actually a really important start to this piece. It starts bringing in the beat, and the rest of the orchestra is really going to need to hear that. Another thing, make sure you hold that note, that A sharp, at measure 28 for a full 4 beats. The rest of this piece is in 3/4 so far, except for that part, and just don't get caught off guard by that. Let's see, where else? Oh, also, at measures 38, 39, and 40, just make sure you're counting and you're holding those Ds. We don't want to cut off at different times and be ending at different times in the rest of our section and the rest of our orchestra. So, yeah, alright, let's start doing the allegro part. Alright, so this is the allegro part. I'm going to just start at measure 43, and I'm going to stop at 51. And I'm going to play that G that's at 51 just because it finishes the phrase a little bit. And so this is a lot faster. It's 120 beats per minute, and that's why I'm going to just do little sections at a time so I can really make sure that working a little bit in depth and really getting an understanding of it. So I'm going to start after 8 beats of rest. This is 2, 4, 3, 4, and 4, 4, so I'm not going to give a count off or anything. I'm just going to have 8 beats of rest, and I'm going to start at 43. So technically it is 10 beats of rest, but let's do it. Alright, so the hardest part, I feel like, about this little phrase is getting that transition from measure 48, where you have, it's 2/4, you have 3/4 of 2 beats, so a beat and a half worth of 16th notes, and you gotta go ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, and then hold an 8th note, and then jump into back 16ths, 8th, 16ths, and then back into 16ths again. And that transition can be a little difficult, so what I recommend doing is going at 48, taking it slow, counting off, just go 1, 2, ready, and 1. And just work on getting that A to hold a little longer, and then you can speed it up. So until pretty soon you can just get it over and over. So that's what I would do there. Just practice the ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da until it's faster and it's finally up to tempo. The other thing is, right at 44, it's spiccato. And so you really want to make those notes pop. You don't want it to just be bland like the rest of this piece. Not that this piece is bland, but you really want those to stick out. Really over-enunciate them until you get a feel for it. Yeah, so that's what I would do there. All right, so here at measure 51, I'm going to play till 59 and 8 beats of rest, and then we're going to jump into it. Okay, so this part can get a little tricky. Let me stop this for a few reasons. For me, the hardest part was the transition from measure 56 to 57. I know that's not really a hard part, but there is a page turn or a page shift there, I guess. So I would just recommend doing that part slow if you have trouble with it. A lot of the remedies for these things are going to be doing them slow and just getting it under your fingers. Really accent the G downbeats at 51, 52, and 53. Those really need to pop and be heard by the rest of the orchestra and by the audience because they bring a little bit of light tone to a piece. So yeah, all right, let's move on to measure 59. Hey, GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. All right, this measure 59, I'm gonna do 8 beats of rest once I start the metronome, and then I'll start playing, and then we'll talk about it. All right. All right, so let's stop this. Obviously, you're not going to want to miss the C like I did at measure 66. Make sure that's a C natural because that note's going to pop. It's going to be a bum ba, and you really got to make sure that you're getting that to the audience and getting it through. Overall, this section, it's kind of about the same as what we've done so far. So if you're having trouble, I would recommend just going slow, practicing it. Make sure, actually, too, that you emphasize and write in at measure 67 to really emphasize that decrescendo and that F sharp to really bring it down, because that's, obviously, it's not a note that's in our key signature, so we want to bring that out. All right, 68. I'm going to do the same thing here. Start the metronome, 8 beats of rest, then we'll play. Okay, this section's really straightforward, not a whole lot to work on. Pay really close attention to those dynamics. Measure 77, really bring out that F sharp, and measure 75 and 70, make sure you really bring out those crescendos and then the decrescendos respectively. Those are really important parts and kind of a slow quarter note section of this piece that is really important we hit. All right, so let's go to 79. I went a little bit past that, but here we'll start right on it. All right, so for this section, I'm going to play from measure 79, and then I'm going to stop on the first beat of 87, and just work through that section because then it changes to pizzicato, and we'll do that in a separate section. All right, so 8 beats, and then we'll start. All right, so once again, this is kind of the same thing. It's very, very similar, almost identical to what we did at measures 55. The notes leading up to it are a little different, and then we have a few different rhythms at 85 and 86. But this is just going to be something that I'm going to have to do slowly. Important, note the accents. So you have an accent on the G, you have an accent on the B flat, and another B flat. Really make those pop out. You want those to draw attention. They're different. You want to make them stand out. And keep a forte throughout the whole thing as much as you can. I know dynamics can kind of fall from your mind when you're working on music like this, where it's really fast and takes a lot of focus on your left hand, but don't forget about your right arm and make sure those dynamics are really coming through. All right, so 87. All right, beat 4 of measure 87. Gonna play 11 beats rest, since I'm gonna start on beat 4, and I'm gonna play through this pizzicato section. All right, here we go. All right, so first big thing off the bat is we have a key change and a time signature change. It changes from 2 flats and no sharps to 1 sharp and no flats, and it goes into 5/4. So that's going to mess up your counting off a little bit if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, depending on what the situation is. And just make an effort to remember, maybe write in key change, count differently, because you also really have to count during this piece. Other than that, it really isn't too bad. Measure 90, you get these dotted quarter notes, and you just kind of got to feel those. The metronome is going to help. It's just ba, ba, bum, bum, ba, 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 over and over for 4 measures, and you just got to feel that. Hold, hold, go, go, hold, go, go. And that's really going to make a difference. All right, so through that, let's pick back up at 94 at the arco. So we switch back into 3/4 here, and that means I'm only going to give 6 beats of rest before I start, just to make sure I'm in that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 after playing in 5/4. And so I'm going to play until measure 102. Here we go. Okay, so we're still in the key of with 1 sharp, and that means it's gonna be a little bit different this time. So we're not playing B flats or E flats. We're not worrying about that, except at measure 95 and 97, we do have some accidentals marked. So be mindful of those. Just don't let those slip back into naturals. Make sure it's, and you can really hear that it's a flat, it's not a natural. Other than that, pretty straightforward in comparison to what we've been doing. At 102, we switch into 4/4 and go back to pizzicato. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start on beat 2 of measure 102. All right, so I'm going to start at measure 102 on beat 2. I'm going to give 9 beats before I play, and then I'm just going to play until measure 111. Okay, so I didn't do the best job of getting that, but that's going to be a really hard section, in my opinion. We're switching between pizzicato and arco every 1 to 2 measures, and that's just a lot of really quick bow changes. So at 102, you're going to be pizzicatoing. Forte, you want to keep this part loud. And then at measure 104, you're going to be arco 16th notes. So you need to get to the tip of that, or that upper third part of your bow. Then as soon as you play that A, I would recommend playing an open A at 105, so you have time to get your hands down to that C. Get the C A, and then open E and shift back to third finger A. E, C, A. And then back to the upper third of your bow for the G, A, C, D, E. And then make sure at 107 you get that D sharp hit. That's kind of an important note. We don't want to forget about it and forget the accidentals. Same at 109, pay attention, and 110, pay attention to those accidentals. And yeah. All right, let's do this at 111 until measure 117. We'll start the same way, 8 beats of rest, and then playing. Alright, this section really isn't that bad. It's just making sure you get those 6/16 notes at the end of measure 114. Don't fall into ba-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. You want to make sure you get those ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Or 1 and 2 and 3 and whatever. Something. Yeah, 1 and 2 and 3 and. Or 1E and a 2E and. Or 1E and a 2E. Really convoluted way of saying make sure you get 6 of those beats. And then 8th note G, quarter note G, dotted half note F sharp to round it out. All right, measure 117 and same type of thing. I'm going to start here at measure 117 and I'm going to play until measure 125 or through 124. And that's just because these are two very different sections, 117 to 125 and 125 to 135. They're very different and they have very different tones and feelings. And so you start at 117, 8 beats of rest. Here we go. All right, this section's pretty straightforward. Really focus on dynamics and that we're enunciating all of our notes, especially the accidentals and the 8th notes. We were able to make sure those pop. All right, other than that, pretty straightforward. Let's go to 125. I'm going to start at measure 125, just 8 beats rest, and here we go. Alright, so I missed that last note at 134. I beat 3 of 134. And there we go. Okay, so this part is really hard. There's no getting around that. It's pretty fast and it can wear on your fingers a little bit. So something I would recommend here is start at measure 134, play it, and then work backwards. Once you get it, go to 133. Then once you get the 2 of them, go to 132, etc., etc. That's really going to help because going forward over and over and then starting over, you're going to get measures 125, 126, and 127 down, but the middle stuff is going to get really uncertain. So if you can get that ending and middle done and ready to go under your fingers, and then you can start moving forward, that'll really help. All right, measure 135. All right, I'm going to start at measure 135 on beat 2. There's going to be 9 measures, and then jump into it. All right, so it's a bit of a different beat, or not beat, same beat, different notes. We have a G flat, which is the same as F sharp at 136 and 138. So just either, I would recommend putting your second finger down instead of your third finger back, or you could just go into half position. user preference, I guess. And then watch that diminuendo at measure 139, and that we're very quiet spiccato at 144 through 147. All right, and then at 148 it picks up. So yeah, it goes to 136. So let's start there. All right, measure 148. Once again, 136 beats per minute. I'm gonna give 8 beats a count off, and then we're gonna go. All right, so this last part, 148 through 151 is just the same thing that we've been playing, it's just faster. But at 151 and 152, he has a little bit of a weird rhythm. So 151, it's eighth note and then a quarter note worth of rest, and then eighth note, quarter note worth of rest, eighth note worth of rest, and a retake, and then a down, and everything else is a down bow. So that last part's bum, 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 ba, ba da bum. You want to get that emphasis on that last G. Overall, it's a good piece. Good job getting through it. And try to stay in the upper part of your bow. It's going to make things a lot easier. And have fun with it.